What's up, everybody? Justin here. Sadly, I don't like doing these tribute shows, but I gotta pay my respects to one of the greats in pro wrestling, one of the greats in the wrestling industry, former two-time WWF Tag Team Champion, was part of the greatest tag teams of all time. I would put the Hart Foundation up there, especially in the 80s, because I like the number, like top three tag teams in the 80s. They were definitely in the top three. Road Warriors were number one, my opinion. And number two was the Hart Foundation. Number three would be Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard. But it's a sad day, sad Monday. Really just awful news. I heard. I didn't hear the news when it broke. It broke, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 hours ago. I was not aware because it was not on the internet. I, I was at work. I can't get on the internet then until I'm on a break or off. Anyways, horrible, tragic, sad news. I mean, this guy, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, this guy I grew up watching as a kid. Just sad. The guy had such a great look. It's such a great look. He was really intimidating. Had a great look with the sunglasses, with the long beard, with his gear, pink and black gear. And that guy was good. The guy was a good athlete, great athlete. Before he was in the Hart Foundation, he was a pretty good wrestler. So this is my tribute show to Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Rest in peace. I know he had some substance abuse problems. I hope he's in a better place. My thoughts go out to his family. But I don't know if he's in a better place, but the guy was taken too soon. He was taken way too soon. I feel awful, really sad for Natalia, his daughter Natty. She's one of only two wrestlers that follow me on Twitter. So as a fan, I love Natalia. I'm a big fan of hers. I was a fan of her before she decided to follow me, but she's just super genuine, real, nice person to her fans. She doesn't have to follow me on Twitter, but she does. So, Natalia, Natty, I'm so sorry. I don't have the words. I don't know what to say. I'm so sorry that you lost your father. 63 years old. Way too young. A lot of wrestlers on Twitter. If you want to remember Jim Neidhart, remember the good memories of him, the smile he brought to your face, watch all his content and all his matches on the WWE Network. His entire WWF career is on the network. What a run he had. What a run the Anvil had with Bret Hart as part of the Hart Foundation and Jimmy Hart. Jimmy Hart might be forgotten by some people, not by me, but maybe by some younger fans. Jimmy Hart was so great with the Hart Foundation. He added a ton to their team. And they were a team. Wasn't just Bret and Jim Neidhart. It was Jimmy Hart. What a triple threat. They were awesome together. I'm sure Jimmy Hart is really upset taking this hard. The entire wrestling community is taking it hard, especially if you grew up watching the guy like I did. I'm in my 30s. I'm 35 years old. So Jim Neidhart was in his prime. When I started watching wrestling in 1987, Jim Neidhart was definitely in his prime. I got to even see the guy wrestle live at a live event in 1989. Maybe 1991. I think I got to see him in 91 also at a live event. So anyways, if you want to don't get too depressed like I am about his passing. If you want to remember the good times and the joy he brought, just check out a lot of tributes. A lot of wrestlers have posted on Twitter. Bret Hart said, posted a picture, very just tragic, a picture of him and Jim Neidhart with the tag titles on. Bret Hart says he's stunned and saddened, and he says, I just don't have the words right now. Ric Flair said, my good friend, Jim Neidhart, a world-class athlete and a man amongst men. Rest in peace. Jerry Lawler posted a picture of Monday Night Raw, King's Court, with Jim Neidhart and Davey Boy Smith. Rest in peace, Davey Boy. Davey Boy Smith also taken way too soon. Owen Hart. I'm just thinking about the Hart family. I just saw, I believe it's somebody else, but I saw the picture. Brian Pillman Jr. on Twitter said that he is going to make the Hart Foundation, the group from 1997, during the Attitude, Bret Hart, Owen Hart, Brian Pillman, British Bulldog, Jim Neidhart. I saw that picture like about an hour ago on Twitter, and somebody posted and said, just very sad, Bret Hart is the only guy left that's alive in the Hart Foundation, from the Hart Foundation. Just that's tragic. And then the person said, I don't know what the hell they were, what their point was. They go on to say wrestling is a bloodbath. Like the wrestling business is to blame for their deaths. No, it's not. Owen Hart, his death was a tragic, tragic accident. British Bulldog. I'm not sure how he died, but he died too young. Brian Pillman. His death was a tragic also. I believe he had a really bad heart, I believe. And Jim Neidhart, from what I read, his death sounds like a just tragic accident. Hulk Hogan posted on Twitter that he's overwhelmed with grief about the passing of Jim Neidhart. He says Jim Neidhart was always with him and a real friend to him throughout the good and the bad. A lot of wrestling tributes from talent, former talent, on Twitter. Check them all out. Eric Bischoff, Diamond Dallas Page, Sheamus, Woken, Matt Hardy, Bruce Pritchard, a lot of tributes. So now I'm going to talk about Jim Neidhart's career and part of his life. He was in high school. The guy set records in shot put. And just, he set records that were not broken for years and years and years and may still be not broken. So the guy's a hell of an athlete in high school. The guy is sounded like a beast, super athlete in high school. And after setting records in high school for shot put, I'm not really sure what, I believe that sport is pick up a giant heavy metal ball, I believe, and you just try to throw it as far as you can. I guess that's a sport. I don't really know much about it. But he set records in doing that. You got to be pretty damn strong to throw a really heavy ball. So then after that, Jim Neidhart actually played in the NFL. I don't know if he played in regular season games or playoffs, but he did get to play in the NFL in preseason games for the Oakland Raiders and Dallas Cowboys in 1979, or before 79. Oh, yeah, around 79, I believe. So in 1979, he decided to pursue a career in professional wrestling. He traveled to Calgary to train with Stu Hart, of course, in the famous dungeon. Stu Hart also was a promoter for Stampede Wrestling. So Jim Neidhart then worked for Stampede Wrestling from 1978 to 1983. And then again, he worked there in 85. He debuted in wrestling in 1979, made his debut. As I said, he was trained by the great, legendary, rest in peace, Stu Hart. So after Stampede Wrestling had a working relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling, Jim Neidhart worked for New Japan on the Big Fight Series Tour in 1982 and the New Year Golden Series in 83, and then he worked 2 shows in 1984 for New Japan. Neidhart teamed up with King Kong Bundy in Georgia Championship Wrestling in 83. Also worked for Mid-South Wrestling and actually became a tag team champion in Mid-South with Butch Reed, as they were the Mid-South tag team champions for 2.5 months. Then he went to work for Continental Wrestling Association. I heard the name of that company, but I don't know where they were located. Then he went to work for Championship Wrestling from Florida, as he won 2 versions of the NWA Southern Heavyweight title and NWA United States Tag Team Championship before leaving. He left for the WWF in January 1985, right before WrestleMania 2. WrestleMania 2 was Bret Hart's and Jim Neidhart's first WrestleMania. As the Hart Foundation was WrestleMania 2. And I really remember that because at WrestleMania 2, Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart were the final 3 in the NFL and WWF Battle Royal. They were both eliminated by Andre the Giant. So the Hart Foundation at their first WrestleMania had a pretty damn good showing. And Vince was really going to start pushing them big time, especially when Jimmy Hart became their heel manager. So Hart Foundation then won their first tag team titles on February 7th, 1987 episode of WWF Superstars. where they had help from the referee, Danny Davis, where he basically screwed the Bulldogs and did a really fast 3 count. Hart Foundation, as I said, the Hart Foundation were together from 1985 all the way to 1991. So the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart, Jim Neidhart had a great run. Great run. They were heels with Jimmy Hart. Then they got rid of Jimmy Hart in 88. And they were baby faces from 88 to 91. And the Hart Foundation as baby faces, they were really, really popular, super over tag team. Fans loved them. I was a big fan of them as a kid. So then the Hart Foundation broke up around 1991. And we had Jim Neidhart start a new tag team, the New Foundation. The New Foundation went on from 91 to 92. The New Foundation was Jim the Anvil Neidhart and Owen Hart. In my opinion, Owen Hart, Jim Neidhart were a great tag team. Pretty underrated. Really good team. Worked really well together. I really enjoyed Owen and Jim Neidhart as a team. I thought they were pretty damn good and had really good tag matches with a lot of teams. So then, after he left WWF 1992, he worked for New Japan and he worked for Eastern Championship Wrestling, aka ECW. He was actually, I didn't know this, Jim Neidhart had 3 tours with New Japan in 1992. And he was in the G1 Climax. In August of 92, I believe, he lost in the first round to Konosuke Sasaki. And then later on, he was teaming with Tom Zink in New Japan in October 92. 1993, Jim the Anvil Neidhart debuted in WCW. I remember this really well. He debuted on a May 15th, 1993 episode of WCW Worldwide. I remember seeing him show up, and I was shocked. I was excited. I was like, that's Jim Neidhart from WWF Hart Foundation, and I thought it was pretty damn cool. He was in WCW, but he wasn't there that long. He was there from May until October. And he never got to appear on any pay-per-views in 93 or Clash of Champions. He wrestled a dark match at a Clash of Champions. And that's it. Other than that, he wrestled on Worldwide and WCW Saturday Night. So then he went back to ECW in November 93, and he wrestled the Sandman at the first November to Remember in the ECW arena. Then he returned to the WWF in late, it was summer 94, where Jim Neidhart actually had a big part in SummerSlam 94 and interfered in the cage match between Bret and Owen. So he returned to WWF in 94 and 95, 96, 97. He was back. And then, of course, in 1997, the Hart Foundation reunited. But this time they were a heel faction. It wasn't just Bret and Jim. It was the British Bulldog. It was Owen Hart and it was Brian Pillman. The Hart Foundation, great heel faction. Great, just tremendous faction. Great group. I feel they don't get enough credit as they deserve. Bret Hart on the mic was great. Brian Pillman, Jim Neidhart, British Bulldog, Owen Hart were all great. They were just great together because they were all basically best friends and family. Even though Brian Pillman was not a Hart family member. He never married into the Hart family. Still, Brian Pillman was trained in the dungeon, trained by Stu Hart. So Brian Pillman, I'm sure, was like family to the Hart family. And Owen, British Bulldog, Brett, Jim Neidhart, they would have done anything for Brian Pillman, I'm sure. So then he went back. His last appearance in the WWF was on a December 2nd, or right after basically the screw job, right after Survivor Series 97. Jim Neidhart was gone and was attacked by Triple H and Shawn Michaels. So he actually went back to WCW. Jim Neidhart went to WCW January 1998. He returned, where he had a short-lived tag team where he teamed up with the British Bulldog. His final match for WCW was September 26th, 98 episode of WCW Saturday Night. He did return to the WWF at Raw's 15th anniversary, December 10th, 2007. I believe he's in a Battle Royal. He was in a Raw 15th anniversary Battle Royal. He was actually... He made it to the final 5, but he was eliminated by Skinner. Jim Neidhart also has appeared on Total Divas with his daughter and his wife and TJ Tyson Kidd, TJ Wilson. So Jim Neidhart also appeared in TNA on the November 12th, 2009 edition of TNA, where he took on Jay Lethal. Where Jay Lethal had an open challenge and he was challenging legends. So it's so sad and tragic that Jim Neidhart has passed away. He was a father and a husband, brother-in-law, member of the Hart family. Jim Neidhart and his wife have 3 daughters: Natalia, Jennifer, and Kristen. I feel so sad and so bad for Natalia and her family, her entire family, and all the friends of Jim Neidhart. I'm sure they're all heartbroken. I'm heartbroken as a fan of his, and as a fan of the Hart Foundation, as a fan of the Hart family. I mean, if you're not upset about Jim Neidhart's passing, if you don't feel bad for Natalia and her family, you don't have a heart and a soul. If you're not a student of the game, if you don't respect the wrestling business, if you don't know the history like I do, well, maybe you aren't upset. But every fan, young and old, new fan, or a fan of over 30 years like I've been, every fan should be upset and should do a prayer for Natalia and her entire family in this sad, sad day for the wrestling business. Jim the Anvil Neidhart has passed away at age 63. According to Sheriff's Office, I guess somewhere in Florida where he lives. Another thing, I feel so bad. Natalia, actually, as I remember, I believe it's on Total Divas. Natalia actually bought her father and her mother a house in Florida so they could be close to her. And I'm sure Natalia's heartbroken. She really loved her father, you could tell when they were. I'm getting really choked up. Natalia really loved her father. You could tell when they were on camera together. I mean, I lost my father when I was 9 years old. So I feel really sad for Natalia. I know she has a lot of love from a lot of her fans. Hopefully, are sending her good messages on Twitter and tweeting her their condolences. And Natalia, I'm sure, has a great support group, great group of people backstage in the WWE that she works with that love her and are really close to her. And her husband, TJ, I'm sure he'll be there for her and Natalia's entire family and friends, not just her real family, not just her family in the WWE, but all the fans of her dad and Natalia, all her fans. We are there for you, Natalia, and we love you. And I'm so sorry for your loss, the loss of your father. Anyways, according to the sheriff's office, I'm about to stop this video because I might break down. Because just thinking about Natalia losing her father makes me think about me losing my father when I was a kid. And my father, the guy was an alcoholic, got over a lot of issues. But I still wish my father was here to this day right now so he could enjoy watching WWE with me. My father got me into wrestling. For anybody that didn't know that, my father got me into watching and got me hooked as a fan. So according to the sheriff's office, he fell at his home and hit his head and passed away. I don't know if that's a rumor, but that's according to the sheriff's office. I really don't know the true cause of his death. That's all I know is they said he hit his head at his home. Rest in peace, Jim the Anvil Neidhart. My thoughts and prayers go out to your entire family. Rest in peace, Anvil. You will be really missed. Really missed.